when you try to corner a man who's been fighting his whole life here on screen and offer you'd better be ready for what comes next. Sylvester Stallone walked into Good Morning America expecting the usual 8 minutes, a couple of Rocky references, a plug for his new movie Final Redemption, and out. No entourage, just a nod to the receptionist, a polite morning to a staff for balancing coffee trays, and a handshake for the producer. But in the control room, George Stephanopoulos wasn't prepping the questions Stallone's publicist had been promised. Instead, he was adding handwritten notes in reader questions with sharper edges. On air, the first few minutes were smooth. George praised Stallone's career. They talked about the new film, fatherhood, and redemption. Then the tone shifted. "You've played fighters for decades," George said. "Some critics think it's time to slow down. Do you feel that pressure?" Stallone chuckled. "The fight just moves inside. Storytelling doesn't age." George leaned in. "Isn't there a risk of becoming a parody of yourself? There are memes broken by old Rocky still throwing punches." Stallone's jaw tightened. "If I'd listened to that years ago, there wouldn't have been Creed or Final Redemption." The questions kept getting sharper. George suggested Stallone's career was carried by two roles. That his tough guy persona was outdated. That some people couldn't even understand him anymore. Stallone didn't raise his voice. "Funny thing, they understood me just fine when I said ayo, Adrian, or told people it's not how hard you hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward." Then George went for the family. "Some say you manage your daughter's image too tightly, more about the Stallone brand than letting them find their own path." The temperature in the room dropped. "You want to poke at Rocky? Go ahead," Stallone said, voice low. "But my family, you don't touch them." George pushed again. "That was it." Stallone unclipped his mic. "You crossed the line. You brought my family into this, questioned my worth, mocked my voice. That's not journalism. That's provocation." George tried to recover. "This is Good Morning America. We ask the hard stuff." "No," Stallone cut in. "You ambushed me." He stood. The sound of the chair scraping back was deafening. "I've worked 50 years for my seat at the table. You haven't earned yours." Then, to the camera, "To anyone who's ever been mocked for how you talk, how you look, or where you came from, don't sit in the chair they built to trap you." And with that, he walked off. No outro music, no recovery line, just silence. Within minutes, the clips went viral. Headlines read, "Stallone walks out live, Stephanopoulos schooled." Social media erupted. "The voice you mocked, millions heard it loud and clear." By the time Stallone reached the curb, his phone was blowing up. His publicist caught up, breathless. "You just broke the internet." Stallone didn't smile. "I didn't raise my voice for the cameras. I raised it because someone needed to." Back in the studio, George sat alone at the desk, shuffling cards for no reason. For a man who had interviewed presidents, it was a Hollywood actor, the one with the battered fists and the slurred voice here, who left him speechless. ABC later issued a careful statement about respecting Stallone's contributions. But by then, petitions were already circulating, inboxes overflowing. They mocked his voice. They questioned his relevance. They went after his family. And he left, not because he couldn't handle the heat, but because he refused to stand in someone else's fire.